HIV awareness. A Connecticut mayor gets into hot water and an increase at-home births. All this and more coming up on the Beaver News.
And welcome to your Thursday night edition of the Beaver News. We're glad to have you with us. I'm Mackenzie Allen.
And I'm Brittany Mangold. Some say obesity is a personal problem, but how personal is the obesity problem when the solution comes from taxpayer dollars? The number of obese Americans continues to rise, and so does the burden on society to pay for health-related problems linked to obesity. Armand Resto of the Daily Barometer reports, as of 2011, 27.5% of people in the United States are considered obese, the highest rate for any country. The Center for Disease Control and Prevention reports the United States spent a total of $174 billion in medical costs for direct and indirect obesity issues. Efforts to change the meals for children in public schools is supported by the United States Department of Agriculture, with their $3.2 billion plan to gradually introduce healthier foods in public schools over a 5-year period. By adding more fruits and vegetables and eliminating foods with high sodium and trans fat, the USDA hopes that this will teach children to make healthy decisions. An estimated 32 million children will be affected by these changes.
As part of the Oregon State University Literary Northwest series, poets Bill Porter and Eric Paul Schaefer will be doing readings followed by book signings in the Memorial Union Journey Room tomorrow evening at 7:30 p.m. According to the university, Porter is most known for his work with Buddhist texts. His translations have been honored with a number of awards, including 2 NEA Translation Fellowships, a PEN Translation Award, the inaugural Asian Literary Award for the American Literary Translators Association, and a Guggenheim Fellowship. Schaefer teaches at Honolulu Community College and has 5 books of poetry published. The event is co-sponsored by the Oregon State University Masters of Fine Art program and the OSU Bookstore. This is free to the public.
While most departments on campus have a student-to-staff ratio of 25:1, Evan Anderson of the Daily Barometer reports that the psychology department has a ratio of 40:1, leaving many students struggling to get into classes they need to fulfill their degree requirements. The psychology degree program requires students to take classes in order, so if a student is unable to get into a specific class, they may find themselves scrambling to fill their schedules with other classes. The chair of psychology department, John Edward, advises students to continue with the program, saying that there is hope for an increase in the course offerings and that the department plans to add 2 new professors for the upcoming year.
Oregon State University's 3rd annual Red Dress Fashion Show drew in enough students to fill the Memorial Union Ballroom Tuesday night, and Josie DeWitt of the Daily Barometer reports that 27 designers were showcased at the event, including a dress designed by student Jana Boyle that was made from 356 condoms. The event was held to advocate condoms in a HIV-free world. According to a PowerPoint at the fashion show, every 9.5 seconds, someone in the United States is diagnosed with HIV. Peer health advocate Bridget Phillips says, quote, "The fight has made a lot of progress, and AIDS is not a disease that can be eradicated with a cure," end quote. We now go to coverage of the event courtesy of Josie DeWitt.
It's a great time for awareness. We usually do it on World AIDS Day, but we did it a little later this year. This year we had 2 club members from OSUFO step up to the plate. Ashley Castellanos and Taylor Worrell directed the show for us, and they coordinated 30 amazing looks from the apparel design program and other students at the university.
Okay,
think the thing that I always try and think about this event in particular is we try and make an uncomfortable subject the most comfortable place to be. And fashion shows are always a great way to draw people in. It's an event, everybody wears clothes and everybody's interested in fashion. So we try and bring awareness for a great cause and fashion together.
What went into the show was just a lot of prepping. We really worked with the Peer Advocate Club, so they put on the whole show, and then OSUFO really just provided the designers and models.
It started by the Peer Health Advocates group with the Face Aids group and the fashion department to help co-host and help collaborate and start this great fashion show. Basically, the whole show is about to raise awareness about AIDS and HIV and how it is a preventable disease.
56,000 Americans were infected every year from HIV, and to me that's a high number for a very educated society.
Everett Anderson of the Daily Barometer reports that Tuesday's night meeting of the Associated Students of Oregon State University included the swearing in of 4 new senators. During the session, the Senate also addressed Student Bill SB 7102, a new bill that will require attendance to 3 student-sponsored events each term by senators and representatives. The bill has had a first reading and may have the possibility of being amended. Also, during the session, an amendment was made to SB 7103, allowing ASOSU members to hold their office hours at alternative locations other than the ASOSU office located in Snell Hall. The Senate also discussed JB 7101, which eliminates suspension during the impeachment process. While there was a concern that eliminating suspension does not allow for instances of extreme violations, the Senate decided that in those cases, the university administration would need to be involved.
Yesterday, from 1 to 4 p.m., Oregon State University students were invited to take part in the Volunteer and Nonprofit Expo in the Memorial Union Ballroom. With the slogan, quote, "Discover service, find your path, change the world," the expo consisted of 3 breakout sessions, including a seminar on pursuing a nonprofit career. There were over 60 different nonprofit organizations present at the event, including Teach for America, Peace Corps, and the AmeriCorps. The Volunteer and Nonprofit Expo was put on by OSU Career Services and the Center for Civic Engagement. We are now taking a short break, but don't go anywhere because when we come back, we have a sports update and a look at your local forecast. Stay tuned. Welcome back to the Beaver News live on KBVR. After saying that he would help the Latino community in his town by, quote, "I might have tacos when I get home, I'm not quite sure," end quote, East Haven, Connecticut Mayor Joseph Maturo Jr. seemed to have gotten his wish. CNN reports that after public outcry and national attention due to what many see as a very racist remark, the Latino activist group Wanta for Progressive Action delivered some 500 tacos to the mayor's office. The group set up a system in which anytime someone texts the word taco to 69866, a taco is sent to Maturo Jr. They received over 2,600 texts and have begun routing all additional deliveries to local food banks. Though he has now apologized twice for his remarks, group spokesman Henry Fernandez says, quote, "The mayor has shown a total lack of respect for the constituents he has been sworn to serve to the best of his ability," end quote. It is currently unclear how long this campaign will continue.
Forecast. Tonight, we are expecting a freezing low 28 degrees. On Friday, we have some nice sunshine with a high of 45 and a low of 30 degrees at night. Saturday, expect to see some more sun with a high of 46 during the day and a low of 39 at night. Unfortunately, Sunday, we're back to more rain with a high of 50 degrees during the day and a low of 43 at night. And finally, Monday, we're back to more rain with a high of 48 and a low of 39 at night. Back to you in the studio.
The Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation announced their donation of $750 million into the Global Fund to fight AIDS, tuberculosis, and malaria. Bill Gates, Microsoft co-founder, announced at the World Economic Forum, quote, By supporting the Global Fund, we can help change the poorest countries in the world. I can't think of anything more important work." End quote. Gates hopes the funds will be used to immediately save lives by purchasing bed nets to protect against mosquitoes carrying malaria and tuberculosis. This recent donation adds to the previous $650 million the Bill and Melinda Gates Foundation has contributed since the Global Fund launched 10 years ago. As reported by CNN, the Global Fund has received criticism over the controversy concerning misuse of the funds in the past. Bill Gates responded to the controversy surrounding the misuse of funds, saying, quote, if you're going to do health programs in Africa, you're going to have some percentage that is misused. The interest is saving lives.
For the second year in a row, our nation's capital has been ranked as the most literate city in the United States. CNN is reporting that the Central Connecticut State University study ranks the nation's largest communities based on 6 indicators of literacy: newspaper circulation, number of bookstores, library resources, periodical publishing resources, educational attainment, and internet resources. Not only did Washington keep its top spot from the previous year, but so did the next 3 cities. Rounding out the top 5 after the capital are Seattle, Minneapolis, Atlanta, and Boston.
Secretary of Defense Leon Panetta released a budget plan that cuts $500 billion in spending over the next 10 years and outlines a new vision for military spending. CNN reports that the savings will begin, if this plan is passed, on October of 2013 as a result of the mandate issued by Congress to reduce the Pentagon spending by $787 billion in the next 10 years. Budget cuts will not affect the spending allocated to special operation forces, such as the Navy SEALs that killed Osama bin Laden. This plan actually dedicates more funds to special forces. The budget cuts will be made by trimming the number of troops in the Army and Marine Corps, as well as smaller pay raises for troops beginning in 2015. If Congress does not approve the overall federal budget plan, then $600 billion cut will be issued against military spending. Panetta urges the additional cuts would, quote, inflict severe damage to our national defense for generations.
Though the numbers of home births declined between the period of 1990 and 2004, new studies indicate that the trend was reversed in 2005 and that home births are currently on the rise. A study released earlier today by the National Center for Health Statistics shows that home birth rates jumped by 29% from 2004 to 2009. CNN is reporting that home births are now most common with women over 35 that have previously had a child, and the biggest increase came from white women. While some believe that delivering a baby outside of a hospital could in fact be more dangerous, home births do really have a lower risk profile than hospital births, with fewer babies born premature. Though the study does not indicate a cause for the new trend, it points out that while statistically it is a fairly large increase, home births in the United States still only account for less than 1%.
5 bodies have been recovered from the 3 commercial buildings that collapsed Wednesday night in the historic center of Rio de Janeiro, Brazil. 19 people remain missing while rescue workers search through the rubble for survivors. The reason for the building's collapse is unknown. However, officials suspect gas leaks and structural failures are responsible. As reported by CNN, the accident comes at a delicate time for Rio de Janeiro as the city prepares to host the 2014 World Cup and 2016 Olympics. The busy commercial center of Rio de Janeiro had to be closed down to the public due to the fire that broke out after the buildings fell. Cars were covered in heavy dust and a strong smell of gas lingered in the air. We're heading into our final break of the evening, but we'll have more of your national and international news when we return. Stay tuned. Welcome back to the Beaver News right here on Channel 26. A New Mexican man was granted $22 million in jury award for being deprived of his constitutional rights that guarantee due process. Stephen Sullivan was arrested in August 2005 for driving while intoxicated in a stolen vehicle and then was left in solitary confinement for over 2 years without being prosecuted. Once released, Slevin filed a lawsuit alleging he was simply forgotten in confinement and now suffers post-traumatic stress from the physical and mental mistreatment he endured. During his time in solitary confinement, Slevin lost significant weight from malnourishment, developed bed sores and dental problems, and experienced delirium. Matthew Coy, a civil rights attorney who represents Slevin, claims conditions were so bad that Slevin's pleas for help and medical attention were ignored by the corrections officials, leaving Slevin with no other options but to pull out his own rotting teeth that were causing him severe pain. As CNN reports, this case is one of the largest federal civil rights settlements involving an inmate in history. Slevin's attorney hopes this case will change the way inmates are treated, especially those with mental or physical illnesses.
The French National Police released a statement earlier today saying the founder of PIP, a company that manufactured breast implants and have been linked to serious health concerns, has been arrested. CNN reports that Jean-Claude Ma was arrested in connection with an investigation into manslaughter and involuntary harm following the cancer death of a French woman with PIP implants in 2010. An estimated 300,000 women in 65 different countries have had PIP implants. A British medical group says they were made from, quote, non-medical grade silicone believed by the manufacturers to be made before mattresses, end quote. The banned implants were banned in 2010, and since then, over 1,000 women in France have had their implants rupture. The French government is currently paying for the removal of all PIP implants.
Having a flight delayed due to weather is understandable, but the passengers on a Canadian flight were more than frustrated when they experienced an unexpected delay yesterday. CNN reports that this delay kept the plane grounded for several hours past scheduled takeoff due to a loose animal. Less threatening than snakes on a plane, a furry friend named Ripples the cat got off his crate after security accidentally opened the latches as they loaded the crate onto the plane. Ripple's owner, Debbie Harris, was shocked to see her cat running around in first class and eventually made his way into the cockpit. Ground control was called in to remove electrical panels in the cockpit to safely reach Ripples. Although passengers were not thrilled, Debbie Harris was happy to have her cat back safe and sound.
Australian Prime Minister Julia Gillard was pulled out of a Canberra restaurant earlier today after an angry group of between 50 and 100 protesters from a nearby ceremony gathered around the building, bashing windows and brandishing sticks and rocks. CNN reports that the protesters were made up primarily of an Aboriginal civil rights group. Though there were no injuries and no arrests were made, video from the Australian Broadcasting Corporation shows Gillard visibly shaken as she was shuttled into a security van and some minor struggles breaking out between authorities and protesters. Authorities believe that the protesters were angry at remarks made by the Prime Minister earlier that day.
Captain Francesco Scantino of the sunken cruise ship Costa Concordia admitted he made a mistake that led to the ship colliding with rocks, but he is not to blame for the deaths of the passengers. As reported by CNN, Scantino is currently under house arrest and faces possible manslaughter charges after acting irresponsibly by directing the ship off course. Of the 4,200 people on board, 16 bodies have been recovered and another 16 are still missing. Cruise ship passengers described a scene of panic and confusion as they rushed for lifeboats. Some said the crew seemed overwhelmed and did not have accurate information on what was taking place. As the ship was sinking, Scantino was safely on land after escaping on a lifeboat, a move that goes against the captain's responsibility to remain on board until everyone is safely off. Scantino argues that, quote, the gash in the ship was immense. There was this projection of rock, and then what I did afterwards, I did it with my most professionalism, and this can help me alleviate, or at least give me the illusion, to be at peace with my conscience, end quote. The prosecutors argue that Scantino hesitated too long to make the decision to evacuate, a decision that cost passengers their lives. Scantino claims his decision to wait is based on many factors, quote, it's not like I can have a blackout and immediately say, let's all get out of here. Where do I send these people? I need to have a certainty and reach my decision on the fact that the ship is no longer capable of floating.
It is believed that up to 100 people could be dead in the eastern Pakistani city of Lahore after taking heart medicine believed to be tainted with heavy metals. CNN is reporting the pharmaceutical factory that produced the drug has been shut down while authorities investigate. Dr. Havid Akram, the physician leading the investigation, says the symptoms included a sudden drop in white blood cell and platelet levels and bleeding from different body parts. The drug was being provided for free through the government-run Institute of Cardiology. And now we go to Joe for a look at sports.
Beaver Nation, let's get ready for an all-star weekend in the National Hockey League and the National Football League. On Sunday, January 29th, the NHL All-Star Game will take place in Ontario, Canada, and will air at 1 p.m. Pacific Time. Sports Illustrated reports that the NFL's Pro Bowl will take place in Hawaii and will air at 4 p.m. Pacific Time. This gives fans a star-studded double feature for Sunday. Pittsburgh Steelers nose tackle Chris Hoke retires from football after 11 seasons. Hoke spent his entire career in Pittsburgh and won 2 Super Bowls with them. Sports Illustrated reports that he stated he retired due to a neck injury that sidelined him all of the 2011 season, and he felt it was in his best interest. He played in 114 games, had 81 tackles, and 2 sacks. The number 10 Oregon State gymnastics team will host the number 12 Stanford this Friday at Gill Coliseum, starting at 7 p.m. One individual to watch for is OSU freshman Kelsey Tang. She has been a breakout sensation so far this season and has been blended well with veteran members of the team. It was a hard night for the Portland Trail Blazers last night in their loss to the Golden State Warriors. The final score was 101-93. LaMarcus Aldridge led the Blazers with 18 points and 7 rebounds. Nicholas Batum added 16 points for the Blazers, but the Warriors were just too strong, with Stephen Curry leading the team with 32 points and 6 rebounds. The Blazers will see action again this Friday when they host the Phoenix Suns.
And that's all the news we have for you tonight. Be sure to tune in Monday at 7 o'clock for your Beaver News on KBVR.